The first step in our face mask project is going to be sewing the two pieces of fabric together with a back stitch. We're going to sew them inside out so we can flip it and have a nice seam on the inside, and then we're going to run a basting or a running stitch around it on the outside. But first, you're going to take your pattern piece of fabric and you're going to have the pattern face up. So notice how there's two different sides. It's kind of hard to tell on this one, but this is the back and this is the front. The front is the side that has more color. You can see the pattern crisper and cleaner. And then I'm going to take my plain piece of color and I'm going to lay it on top. And we're basically sewing this inside out because we're going to flip it. I'm going to take my pins, and like we did with the monster, I'm going to take my pins and I'm going to create a starting point with a pin here on one of the edges, and I'm going to create an end point here. I want it about 3 inches long or so that we have enough space to flip this and press it. I'm going to take my other 2 pins and I'm going to pin them on the other side. Luckily this is not slippery fabric, so we do not need a lot of pins. And the pins are just going to hold this in place while I start to sew. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to run a back stitch all the way around the edge of this, about a 1/4 inch or so in, making sure that you're catching both pieces of fabric. I have, like we did with our monsters, I made a very long string here with my thread. So I did 2 arms lengths, and then I'm doing a double thread, which means it's not 2 pieces of thread, it's 1 piece of thread that is then just looped around, and I have a knot at the end of it. All right? So you're going to do that double thread. And I'm going to start at, it depends on if you're left-handed and you want to go this way, if you're right-handed and you want to go this way, whatever you want to do. But I have my 2 pins here, my starting and stopping pins, and I'm going to start my back stitch right here at my starting pin, about a 1/4 inch. You can do about a 1/3 of an inch in as well. If you want to run, like if you have a pencil or something that you want to run lightly around here so you have a nice even line to stitch on, you can do that as well. But I'm just going to start my stitching here, and I'm going to run a back stitch around the entire perimeter here. This is a lot of thread, so if you do not want to use this much thread because it might get tangled, that's totally fine. What you can do instead then is you can just, sorry, I can't concentrate. I gotta concentrate here. Is just, you can keep rethreading it as you go. That'll work just fine. All right, I'm gonna keep doing this back stitch all the way around, and then I'll check back with you. As you can see, I have finished my back stitch all the way around, and I still have that gap here. As you can see, that's going to be where we flip it. One thing we're going to do to help our corners is we are going to clip just the edge off these corners outside of the stitches. Do not clip the stitches themselves. We're just going to clip the little tip of that corner off. That's going to reduce the bulkiness inside when we flip it. So as you can see there, I just clip the edges right there. Now, working from this opening very carefully, I'm going to turn this right side out. Don't yank on it, don't pull on it really hard. Just be nice and careful. It might take a little bit of time. Using your thumbs, pull it through. And then really get those corners out. You can even put your finger in to help pop those corners out. And we did a back stitch, so it should be nice and tight as well. Sorry, you couldn't see that. And And now I'm just going to, with my hands, I'm just gonna flatten this out as best as I can. Pushing down around the edges so I get that nice crisp seam. And we don't have to worry about this hole right here because we are going to stitch over this. So you don't have to worry about that right now. So there, now you have that part done. From here, we're going to put in our pleats. We're gonna put 3 pleats in, and our entire thing needs to be about 3 inches wide. And all a pleat is just grabbing it and bringing it up and folding it. And you can put a pin in on one side, that'll kind of help hold it. And then I'm gonna bring another pleat. So depending on how big you make your pleats, you can do 2 to 3 pleats. It's up to you. I'm gonna do 2 pleats. And then I'm gonna go back over here, make sure my pleats are even. And pin it so they are nice and tight. From here, what you're going to do is you're going to do a tight running stitch all the way around the edge again, just like we did in the past. And when you get to these edge pieces here where the pleats are, make sure you're really grabbing that and you're getting those pleats there. So you'll just run a stitch all the way around, and you can do it either on the front side or the back side, it doesn't matter. But just make sure that it's smaller. It is a running stitch, so you're not gonna have long stitches, and they need to be nice and tight as well.